Coming up on Smart Tech today, Matthew Cassinelli and I are excited to announce a new time for Smart Tech today. That's right, it's going to be at 11 a.m. Pacific. We will be out next week for Labor Day, but the following week we are back in the saddle on September 14th with your regularly scheduled program at a different time, 11 a.m. Pacific. But today you should know that we talked a lot about different kinds of smart tech, including vacuum cleaners, blinds, as we always love to talk about, and the Sunu Band, which is a sonar wearable, plus so much more, including an awesome project that I worked on for IR remotes and Matthew's upcoming and super awesome shortcuts catalog. Stay tuned for all that and more on Smart Tech Today. Smart Tech Today is brought to you from TWiT's LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? Well, LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by Eero. These days, you need solid Wi-Fi in your whole house so everyone isn't working on top of each other. You need Eero. Go to eero.com/twit and enter the code TWIT at checkout to get free overnight shipping with your order. Welcome back to Smart Tech Today, the show where we explain the exciting, the dynamic, and the sometimes confusing subject that is the Internet of Things. I am Mikah Sargent.
And I'm Matthew Cassinelli. Confusing
today? You just don't know. And we've got a lot of smart tech to talk about today. Things start out with a new wearable that can actually help folks with low to no sight be able to maintain social distance when they are out and about. And, as is common with all of these things, you can start to think of other possible implications and ways that this technology could be used. But Forbes has a little guide or a little write-up about this product, the Sunu Band. Once again, just an interesting name that can be kind of difficult to pronounce, but we'll go with Sunu Band. That can help those who are sight impaired be able to exist in public as they need to, but do so safely.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like a wristband watch type thing that has sonar and echolocation to basically give you some quick haptic vibrations anytime there's something in the proximity. And so this product was originally designed in 2018. The guy said the original idea was for things that are in the air above where you would be holding your cane if you were using a cane, because that only helps if something's on the ground. So you could run into something if it's at eye level, kind of. So the idea at the time was to have the wristband and then it would vibrate and let you know that there's something nearby. But now they realize that they could tweak it and set the range a little bit further so that people who are blind could go out and stay properly social distance and everything, because that's definitely a major problem. If you're blind and out and about, you can't really control that as much as someone else might be able to. So this helps give you that sense and be able to avoid anybody if you need to. So pretty neat little product.
Yeah, based on some of the interactions that my partner has recounted to me that he experiences working as a barista, even people with full sight or most of their sight have trouble understanding what social distancing means and struggle to find what some would say are very obvious stickers on the ground that tell you where to stand.
The giant arrows.
So, the giant arrows and the giant circles and the giant font text that says stand here. And they, folks that don't appear to have any of these concerns struggle to find those too. So I think that this is a helpful technology for, for people who absolutely need it, but perhaps there's even more implications and possibilities for this technology. I think that the idea of sonar and echolocation being used on a personal level is very cool. And I don't know, I can think of different superheroes that would use echolocation to sort of find their way and see where the bad guys are, what have you. So this is a neat little thing that I think is super awesome.
Echolocation on your wrist for only $300. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah. Speaking of only a certain amount of money, for the longest time, it has been kind of a bit of an investment to get a smart robot, a robot that goes throughout your home and cleans it. So like a vacuum robot. And to really get the ones that have the built-in technology to map out your space and ones that can empty out their own collection bucket and all of these different things that are built into the different smart robots, that ends up costing a lot of money. But Gizmodo has a little piece out kind of talking about how the less expensive versions, the ones that are more cost friendly, are getting upgrades to their smarts that make them kind of worth investing in without having to spend, thousands of dollars. And what's interesting is that, I think that, so I've got a smart robot right now. I keep saying smart robot, a smart vacuum right now. And it is a pretty dumb smart robot. It can, be scheduled. It can be set to turn on and go around the house, and it can work with Alexa to where I can say, hey, will you go do some vacuuming? But outside of that, it doesn't do anything else. And it was a good price, a not too expensive price. But I guess what I would want now would be a robot that can do the room mapping stuff to become more efficient at cleaning the space, knowing when it's time for it to go back and charge, that kind of thing. So I'm kind of curious, how do you feel about the smart vacuum cleaner in general and sort of where you fall in all of this and whether this is something that's of interest to you?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in one of these. We have hardwood floors, but we do have sort of a weird layout where it kind of like goes around the staircase and then there's a step up in the middle to go up the stairs and like from either side. So I'm pretty sure it would end up getting stuck in one room or something like that, but we don't actually have one of these yet. But I think the room mapping stuff would definitely be important. Like, I thought this was interesting. They were talking about some of the more advanced things like keeping out of a different area or learning which rooms to go in at which times and things like that. So you can add schedules now. But the angle too on the article was kind of like, even though some of that stuff is really fancy, now that some of the cheaper ones have Wi-Fi and if this then that, you can set up more interesting routines together and like have a favorite one. So I like their one where they were talking about when the cat's litter robot finishes cleaning, then the Roomba could go around. And they were like, please, I want one time where there's not litter just randomly around my house. But I thought that wasn't. But even still, like if this, then that stuff requires a lot of setup, and having it kind of just be AI based sounds a lot nicer. So it kind of depends. I'd say if you already have one of those, kind of waiting and building up for the more fancy one would make sense, because the smart vacuum sounds like one of those things that's like a nice to have until you have it, and then it's a need to have, and then you want it even better. And I don't know.
Except if you have someone in your house who's kind of afraid of them, and then you've sort of got to figure out a time to run it when they're not around. And also if you have small animals in the house who sometimes leave toys and things behind, then they get tangled up in toys. And in theory, the smart vacuum is a fun idea and a good idea, but sometimes they can be a bit of a problem, depending on the types of animals that you have, if you have them. And apparently people who are afraid of them somehow. I'm not going to get into that, so I don't get in trouble.
I thought you were implying the animals at first, but
it's everybody but me in the house.
It does just seem like I'm all for technology that once you buy it, you can just like never think about the problem again. That's my favorite kind of technology, obviously, because it solves your need perfectly. So I think a smart robot falls into that realm, but when it gets to be $900, that's when it's like, you could get just a really, really good vacuum also that cleans everything.
That's a good
better.
See, and that's a really good point, because if you get a vacuum that's good enough, vacuuming becomes enjoyable. You're going around and you're vacuuming and you're like, I didn't know there was this much stuff in my carpet. I didn't know I could remove this much stuff from the ground. This is delightful and also horrifying, but mostly delightful.
If you have kids, I bet these make a difference, because you'd probably never want to do any chores. And then just certain pets and things like that, it's like you would be vacuuming all the time. So I definitely remember that as a kid, though. One of my friends' parents getting a really good vacuum. And I think at the time we were like holding out on our vacuum. And so I went over and I was like, can I vacuum your carpets? And they're like, sure. I'm like,
that's awesome. I love that. I was just going to say, one of my dogs is quite literally a fur factory. I have no idea. I mean, he's a tiny little animal, and yet somehow he produces fur like it's as if he is 1-to-1. The consumption of food is to the fur production that he has. And there's just fur all the time, everywhere. And I can brush him and defurinate him and do all of these things. And yet just fur upon fur everywhere. And that is one of the benefits, yes, of having a vacuum that kind of runs daily. It collects all that fur, because otherwise then it starts, even when in places where the dogs can't be, there's somehow fur there in those places because you are tracking it throughout the house. And it's pretty miraculous how much his fur can spread throughout the whole home. So yeah, a vacuum can definitely help with that.
Probably worth it.
Yeah. Let's move on to talk about something I've been eyeballing this product for a long time, and I live in a home where the doors that I have are just not compatible with smart locks. So the current smart lock that I own, the August smart lock, does not work with the door that I have. And the one that we're about to talk about also wouldn't work with the door that I have. But if I am to move into a home again in the future, I'm definitely going the way of the Level smart lock. Level has come up with this clever design that makes your lock look like a normal run-of-the-mill lock deadbolt that you stick your key into, you turn the lock, and it will open the door. But it's got a sort of secret capacitive touch feature built into it, so that if it can verify that you are the one approaching the door, you tap on the outside of the deadbolt, and the mechanism that is built right into the deadbolt itself will unlock your door. It also works with NFC, so that you can have these little cards that you could give out that will, when you put them up against the smart lock, will unlock the door. And of course, a normal key. It can work with a normal key, so that even if it dies, if the battery dies, or you don't have access that way, then it has that fallback technology available. It's beautifully designed. It is what I would want from a smart lock in terms of not being this sort of intimidating and odd-looking device.
Like that, a whole door handle mechanism, not just the lock itself.
And so for that, I think that's what makes this smart lock so brilliant. It's how I think things should be, for sure. And it's definitely, like I said, the way that I plan on going when I move into a home that, can have this kind of deadbolt on it. It's really well designed, and I think it's very pretty. And that idea of not having to install some huge wall wart on the outside of the door, but just have it be built into the lock itself is chef's kiss.
Yeah. And it's, again, $300 is like the sweet spot for this episode, I guess, but or $329 they're saying. But the capacitive thing is really nice because as long as you have your phone in your pocket, you can just walk up and touch it, the door lock, and it'll unlock, which that feels very like Harry Potter. What's
Future.
Oh my gosh, I can't think of the spell. Dang it. Alohomora? Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Well, disappointing.
I'm sorry. We'll go with that. Aloha.
These are great.
Sayonara. Is that what you said? Aloha, sayonara.
Alohomora.
Oh my.
I'm sorry. Clearly, you're not into it, so you're not going to get any of these references I'm making. But
yeah, I'm so sorry. Somebody out there is screaming at their screen or their iOS device or Android device, going, "It's Leviosa."
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there it is.
At least you got the somewhat level.
Alohomora. You figured it out.
I don't blame you for not being too into Harry Potter these days. So,
well, it's not so much that I'm not. It's just that when it was a thing, I wasn't allowed to watch it, and so I didn't ever get into it as a kid. So I'm not now too much of a Harry Potter nerd. Which, I mean, I do like. This is totally off topic, but I do like Fantastic Beasts. I think that's a good one. Newt Scamander is pretty cool. Anyway. Let's talk about something we always talk about on this show.
More magic.
Smart blinds.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what's going on with the smart blinds marketplace. Is Lutron trying to take more of my money?
I was going to say, newsflash, it's still expensive. So The Verge hasn't... I thought this was just an interesting article because the smart blind world is developing while it's still on the high end. Lutron has smart wood blinds now, so you can actually get what looks like real blinds instead of kind of those little mini blinds. I don't even know how to describe it, but just like one giant blind that kind of folds up in itself.
Oh,
These
the shades
like
versus
slats.
Blinds.
Yeah. But also what's weird is even the Lutron supports HomeKit and Smart Things everywhere else. These ones don't work with it yet. But I just thought it was an interesting thing to note that you can now get full smart blinds in your house that look like a normal house. Like, especially with the level lock, you could have almost a fully smart home and nobody would really notice, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, instead of having the giant mechanism. I mean, one of the things they note in here too is that it's quiet, which we've noted in the past is that's a deal breaker if it's in your bedroom. I don't want a machine going at 6 a.m. or something like that. So, ooh, nice blinds effect on the stream there.
It was $800 for one window.
So that's what I mean.
Stupid. That's just plain stupid. I don't understand why it costs. I need to know why it costs so much money. Hold on. Let me call Lutron up right now. Yeah. No,
I guess it says $599 for
he
the
said,
very
though,
basic, but on his window, yeah.
Yeah. Pricing starts at $599. Blinds that fit my one window, single 65-inch wide kitchen window came to just over $800, including the remote. And if you don't have the Lutron bridge, that's another $80. If you were trying to do this across your entire house, you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars, or at least $10,000.
For kids with money only, as Do by Friday calls it, at least. It's a little out of the price range of the average person, but it's still like I want to see these types of designs proliferate. Basically, IKEA, please continue to copy this and make them cheaper and cheaper. So,
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. We'll see if they get HomeKit though.
I'm surprised. That's odd to me. I thought that some of the Lutron blinds did have HomeKit support, so it's weird that those ones don't. Because if it works with the Lutron bridge,
we got HomeKit and brand.
That's true.
Then we'll talk about it again. No.
Yeah, that's what it is. They know. Up next, apparently, AliXA did not know some regional British words and phrases, And so the virtual assistant has been taught some regional words and phrases. So one thing that I didn't know is that in the UK, and I should say in some places in the UK, underwear like briefs, trunks, boxer briefs, those different types of undergarments are called pants. And so at one point on Twitter, I was talking about a pair of pants, and I can't remember what I was saying, but it was something about pants. And a British listener responded to say, I was a little concerned at first because I thought you were talking about underwear. And so that was a little bit of an issue. So it talks about sort of the proper regional words and phrases. And you can actually say, ALEXA, what are the regional words for bread roll or tea, or in this case, underwear? And it can help you figure that out. Amazon has a dialects group in Cambridge, and that dialects group is the one that's working on this. So I imagine that we're going to continue to see some variations and changes and additions to help you learn about British dialects, but not just Brits, all sorts of different dialects in different places. And I think that's fun. We get to learn more about people and get to learn how they say different things or what words they use to say different things.
I purely put this story in here because I want you to say some of these things, but I only found a couple of examples. So
yeah, there's like,
I wish there was more.
Instead of saying hello, they would say, I don't even know if that's I up, and ta-ra, which is a fun one, like ta-ra instead of goodbye. But I don't see any of the other ones.
Yeah, I'll have to do more research and get a list for you to.
Yeah, if you make a list for
here's
me.
It on the Telegraph article. Wood pig slayed. See, I'm worried actually. I don't want to say these because without knowing,
you don't know what it means.
Yeah, exactly. Like there
are
some
different names for wood lice. There's slaters, cheese logs, gramasows, and granny greys.
What to do if you get a cheese log in your moggy cake?
Ew.
I don't even. Yeah. Okay. I'm done. Okay.
What about granny greys? Yeah. Let's come back to that when you've got some more things for me to say. Ta-ra, Amazon. One more thing here. This is okay. I'm going to stop. This is something that we saw and we kind of wanted to talk about that had us both kind of going, oh boy, oh dear, oh my. Amazon has announced a new trackable called the Halo. I suppose that makes it innocent if we call it the Halo. This is a device you wear on your wrist that tracks all sorts of activity information, sleep, the body. So you can actually go in and scan your body. And then after you scan your body and then wear this device, it sends a low-level electrical impulse throughout your body to determine the body fat to body water to body bone content throughout your entire body. And then it uses that information to tell you what your current body fat percentage is. And then you can go in and adjust your body fat percentage up or down to see how changes to that body fat would shape your body.
Yeah.
But it also constantly listens to you and lets you know how you may come across to other people. So right now, as it's listening to me, it might give me a notification letting me know that I sound a little sarcastic and scornful. And that's how I appear toward people. What is going on? Amazon, which is already kind of criticized for being, if not criticized, then sort of side-eye looked at. I don't know how else to put it. Sort of, there's concern that the company gets a lot of information about an individual, is now making a product that is constantly listening to you and is tracking all sorts of stuff about your body. And when a company is an online marketplace for products, as well as the backbone for the internet, as well as a voice assistant that has voice devices in so many homes, when it adds yet another way to track you and understand everything about you, I feel it's fair to pause and ponder and wonder kind of what Amazon is getting out of all of this. That seems fair, right?
Yeah,
I gotta say this video is gorgeous, and I'm really annoyed about it because I'm really into this video. We're showing the video that's sort of the Halo product marketing video announcing what it is and how it works. And it's very pretty and well done and makes me want this. Reduce liquids to reduce wake-ups. Limit wake-ups with a pet-free bedroom? Get out of here.
Mm-hmm. Good tip. I never would have thought of that.
I'll have none of it. I'll hear
without Amazon listening to me 24/7. I mean, like, even the part about it. Of course, every article is like, now Amazon can criticize your tone. Like, my first thought too was maybe some situations it's justifiably using a tone because maybe the entire world is terrible right now, and also companies are doing creepy, weird stuff. I do think
Matthew Cassinelli, you are currently being sarcastic. Please cease sarcasm.
Chill out. Like, you need to relax.
You need to relax. Please turn off your device, or I will turn it off for you. No, don't do this. This is
one of those products that I wish was made by literally anyone else. Like pretty much every single thing that Facebook releases nowadays. But
yeah,
like they have a whole creative team. I don't know if people don't even know because Facebook probably doesn't publicize it, or people just don't care. But they've released like 30 apps since the pandemic started that are just like copying every idea out there. But sorry, total distraction. But Amazon is like, yeah, I can. Seems like a successor to the what's it? The Hello? What was the one that? No, the Echo Look that they had a camera that would sit in your house, but that was more designed on style, and it would look at you. And I almost just imagined that they got a bunch of feedback that people would rather have this for health purposes rather than just style, because style doesn't necessarily, like, health is incredibly important. Of course, don't think that the Halo, which tells you about your body fat and all of this health data, is at all related to health, because Amazon doesn't think it is and doesn't have any type of FDA approval or hasn't gone through any part of that process, because they're claiming this isn't about health. You know, it's just about scanning your body and everything you do and your tone. Like, what? That's wild that they're just like, by the way, we don't think this is, like, we're saying it's not about health, even though you're clearly going to use it to, like, choose how you live your lifestyle. So
yeah, including the part where they literally show a cupcake in that person's body, and then they make a decision based on the cupcake in the person's stomach. That's so just clearly
get away with this?
Oh, that's so annoying.
I was glad, like, I saw this story and I was just like, I'm so glad I do this podcast with Mikah, because I could just tell. I was like, what? Like, what is it? It feels so, not that there's any particular, like, mood against this type of thing right now, but it still feels so tone deaf from Amazon. For just, it's like, by the way, we're going to track everything you do right now. And it's just, it seems wild. And like I said, the technology sounds cool, like what you were saying of being able to do this. But again, if it has to sign into Amazon.com, that is like a huge pause. So
it's literally listening in on this couple and figuring out, you can't, okay.
There's got to be sexism embedded in this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that plays a role too. I think that technology can help on a therapeutic level, and we've seen different ways that it does and does it responsibly. But like you said, Amazon didn't get the proper approvals and things like that play a role in this. And so do I want this wearable on my wrist to using whatever training models it has? I don't know where their data came from and all that kind of thing. Do I want it using that information to help me figure out how I'm supposed to have a conversation with my partner? I don't. Yeah. I think that the problem with that is that we begin to rely on the technology too much and stop being able to rely on our own minds and our own understandings. And that just seems like the worst kind of step in nannying that one could have. I don't know. There's a lot about this I don't like, clearly. And I'll be interested to see who gets one and who enjoys this, and if it is successful, particularly with the tone stuff. I don't know who. Yeah, I'm just really lost with this. I really am.
I am all for the quantified self and utilizing the technology in interesting ways, but I mean, we've been binging Jurassic Park recently, and I just can't help but think of the Jeff Goldblum quote where it's, you were so preoccupied with whether or not they didn't stop to think if they should, and whether or not Amazon is the one that should do this. It's like pretty obviously for most people, they should not be the company. And it is like a shame to see companies put out good technology like this without the privacy behind it. And I was even, it ties into health wellness programs. You get credit for your health programs, but it's not a health device. Don't worry about it. It's wild.
It's going to be in Whole Foods everywhere. You're going to see these on the shelves in Whole Foods. And so it's going to get into people's hands for sure. I don't have a problem with more people having access to their health information, but like we're kind of talking about here, it depends on what company it's coming from and what they're going to do with that data. And it needs to be incredibly clear. And I think we should probably follow up on the privacy policy involved with the Halo. And as we hear, I know that some folks at TWiT have put in a request to get a Halo device for the sake of doing reviews and stuff like that. So as we hear their use of it, we'll learn more about it. But we do need to take a quick break. And I am pumped to tell you that this episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by Eero. Listen, these days, your house isn't just your home. It's your office, it's your school, it's your movie theater. Frankly, it's your restaurant. It has to be all of these things and more. All these activities put a strain on your Wi-Fi, and it's not good enough if it's only good in a room or two. You need a solid Wi-Fi system in your whole house so everyone isn't working on top of each other. You need Eero. Eero is an Amazon company that covers your whole home with fast, reliable Wi-Fi inside and out. Rooms, if you've got rooms that have bad to no Wi-Fi, dropouts on your patio, well, Eero makes every square foot of your house usable by eliminating poor coverage and dead spots. You'll have a consistently strong signal wherever you need it. You can be on a work call, the kids can be doing their remote learning, and someone can be streaming videos all at the same time without any buffering when you have Eero. I can say that with 100% fact, given that right now I am doing this show and I know that my partner is downstairs playing on an Xbox and is doing a game. I feel very silly whenever I talk about gaming because I don't understand how most of the verbiage works. But I know that he's doing some game that requires online loading and stuff like that. And there's not any issue right now as I'm communicating with you. And that is because of the Eero system that I have set up in my home. It is fantastic. It is fast and easy to set up. It's all done with the app. You plug in your modem and you're good to go. And just to make it so easy to not only manage what is going on in your home, but also you can pause the internet for dinner time, get alerts if any device attempts to join your network. That's one of my favorite things, so that I not only know if a new device joins my network just as a whole, I can go, wait, how's that happening and why is that happening? And then block that device. But also when I'm setting up new devices as a smart home enthusiast to go, okay, that I know is this new plug that I set up, and I can rename it and know and properly track it throughout the system. And it's not an issue at all. I have an Eero in my home. It's one Eero Pro base station with two Eero beacons. I gave my mom an Eero system that's one Eero Pro base station and one Eero beacon. And those, for both of us, is just an incredible home network system. I love it. I've got a 3-floor townhouse. And so the top floor has the Eero Pro on it. And then the second floor, which is the main living space, has a beacon. And the bottom floor, which is the garage and entryway, has a beacon. And that makes sure that each floor of my house has complete and total access to Wi-Fi. And then I've got a network switch plugged into the other port on the Eero Pro. And that is powering my desktop and all of the office stuff that I have. It just dadgum works. It's fantastic. We, of course, as we're working from home, are asking a lot out of our Wi-Fi. Eero can help yours do more. You just go to eero.com/twit and enter the code TWIT at checkout to get free next day shipping with your order. That's eero.com/twit with the code TWIT at checkout to get your Eero delivered with free next day shipping. Eero.com/twit with the code TWIT. Our thanks to Eero for sponsoring this episode of Smart Tech Today and for keeping my home network running without an issue at all times. Thank you, Eero. All right, let's talk about Google. I saw this story kind of go by, and this was not a surprise for me. Amazon seemed to kind of be the first company to make its smart speakers and smart displays available to the hotel and what's the other word for it? Hospitality market. And now Google has launched the Nest Hub for hotels to add its devices to the hospitality market. Interesting time to be doing that, for sure. But apparently some people are staying in hotels. So that's good, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's special about this technology? Like what is the difference between a Google Hub for hotels versus a Google Hub for, your home?
Not having to sign in, I think, is the big part. So I don't know if that's necessarily privacy first, but it's at least user experience first. I think a big thing that they're also going for the angle with both Amazon and Google is that these are hands-free. So if you go into a hotel, you can ask it for information, talk to the desk, get all that type of stuff without actually interacting or touching anything. So I think that's maybe there's likely some money involved also. So companies or hotels wanting to make money as well, maybe turning towards something like this, installing more stuff and getting the companies to pay for it or something like that. But it seems pretty nice. I mean, even being able to put music onto the speaker or something like that, it's now a smart speaker as well. So I think it's kind of an interesting thing. And for people who also don't have one of these, I think it'd be a good way to demo it in a low impact but high attention environment, because you're just sitting in the hotel waiting and stuff. So it's might as well play around with this as opposed to whatever junk is on the TV or something like that. So maybe people will actually play Google display games here.
One place where, that's where I end up watching shows that I wouldn't otherwise watch. So I could see that being the use case. And then, I don't know, I think I think about people that I know personally who, and of course this is anecdotal, but who are uncomfortable around these types of devices. Yeah. And, before this whole thing happened, I always made a point of letting them see very clearly that I was turning off or disabling or turning around or what have you, these types of devices in my home should they enter them. And in that way, I think that I would be a little uncomfortable, even as someone who sort of knows this technology, knows how it works. I think I'd be a little uncomfortable having a Nest Hub in my in my hotel room, and I would probably unplug it. And that's simply because not only does a camera that I don't know about bother me, but also the chance that someone, a bad actor, so to speak, could come in and add some sort of, firmware or something. There's just too much potential for abuse that makes me uncomfortable. I am already made uncomfortable by the radio alarm clock things that are in hotels. And if there are USB ports available for charging devices, I don't use those. I will only use the AC power. So this just adds another level of, I walk into a hotel room that has one of those silly systems where it says on the television, "Welcome to your room, Mikah." And that already is like, can we just have it like old school where I walk in and I don't know, there's grime in the bottom of the coffee pot and the AC is turned down to 40 degrees. And
you want it like that, but I guess no one is touching it. I don't know.
No
one's touched it at all.
I don't use those coffee pots anyway because I think that's gross. My point is, I just want it to go back to the time before this modern technologization of the hotel room that, in my opinion, makes it feel less safe.
Yeah, I'm not saying it in this article. I saw it somewhere else that I think it's only the Nest Hub, not the Nest Hub Max, which is the one that has the camera. So it doesn't have a camera on it. But that's good. I guess got mine right here. It does have the physical switch for the microphone at least. So maybe you still
and we know what that
it,
means. We know that a hardware switch for the microphone means that it physically turns that off. But your average user, are they going to know A, that there's a switch there, and B, that that's not just a software switch? I just feel like because fear comes from the unknown, and if you don't know a lot about these tools and technologies, then you're going to be afraid of this thing. And I think that fear is somewhat warranted based on what we've seen before with the Facebook videos that just get so much reach oftentimes are the ones with like the Nest cameras that someone did a social engineering hack to get into. And then you see somebody saying horrible things to some small child on a Nest camera. And, people see those and they think, oh, golly, I can't have a camera in my home at all ever. And, there are some security researchers who would just say that, that's probably your best bet. But knowing a little bit more about it makes it so that I feel comfortable with the cameras that I do have in my home because I know that I'm in control of them. This will be interesting to see kind of how that goes. And I think we've got a lot of time before we know for sure if this stuff takes off because not a whole lot of people are staying in hotels, right?
It's like, can you request a hotel room without an assistant?
Excuse me, I'll have the one that is assistant free. Thank you. Be like, that's a $30 surcharge because we can't market to you, which is how we're subsidizing the cost of the hotel room. Oh, well, in that case.
If you might, it sounds like you're joking, but that sounds very realistic.
Right. Doesn't that sound kind of like what they might be doing?
We're going to say that headline in a year.
Like this has ads for our room service stuff on it. And so if you don't take that room.
That is a big part. But
that's why you just go in and you unplug everything. Fitbit has finally unveiled some devices. Google has purchased Fitbit, but then also kind of has to wait because of different antitrust concerns. But with this whole process underway, Fitbit does have some smartwatches that have the Google Assistant now. So you get some fun new stuff, from the Fitbit that has the Google Assistant built in, so you can communicate and control using the Google Assistant. And Google said that, hey, look, we're not going to use the data from the Fitbit to target ads, kind of like what we were worried about with the Halo, but there's still a concern for sure.
Mm-hmm. So they have the new Fitbit Sense is $330. The Versa 3 is $230, and the Inspire 2 is $100. and they all ship in late September. And at least according to VentureBeat, the risk is that they're getting rid of a lot of physical buttons, which according to them sucks, but also for a company is less parts. So I'm curious if that's kind of part of the strategy too, is just the overall supply chain alignment thing, especially as they're not quite yet being purchased by somebody else. And they also have
and less areas for water and sweat to enter the device.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big thing with this. And it's clear too that they're keeping the assistant game going. But you do have to, I think you have to choose between one of them. Although that's right. You have to choose, which has always been a little bit weird for me, especially on my Sonos. It's kind of like, I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily switch between them, but yeah, you have to swap them.
Which ones? Between the Google Assistant and Amazon's, or?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to avoid saying it. But yeah, it seems pretty. I mean, if you know that you want the Fitbit, it's great to see the products continue along. Like, people don't necessarily want to jump into the Apple Watch world, or I don't even remember.
I mean, if you don't have an iPhone.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And it's not worth necessarily switching just for that, just to get the fitness stuff. So it's good to see Fitbit going along. I'm curious how users of Fitbit see these products now, because I've never been super invested in the ecosystem. So it seems pretty similar along the way, but they're looking more, I don't want to say Apple Watch like, but more smartwatch like than fitness tracker straight up.
Yeah.
So that's pretty nice to see, I guess.
Yeah, I like the design of these. It does feel a little bit Apple Watchy, but I think that's a good thing. It means that you can wear it more like a watch and feel like you can wear it in settings that are more formal and not have to feel like it's out of place on your wrist. Like, I could only wear this to the gym. I think that's a good thing, because again, I do think it's important that we have access to our own bio information and can use that to take action as we need. So this is a good thing overall. And as long as Google holds to its promise or its vow or whatever you want to call it, to not market using that data, then I think that it's a good thing. Yeah.
I like the stress management score. Sounds useful nowadays, I'd say.
Just look at it. Yeah. It just says, it's just the screen person on my phone or my watch. It's like, yeah, that's
the contrast with Amazon's thing too is like interesting. Just seeing Amazon's like diving in, like, let us track everything, and Fitbit, Google's like, we're going to have it, but we're totally not going to touch it. And then we'll see 5 years from now. That was the huge thing with WhatsApp when they first went to Facebook, and now Facebook is totally enveloped it and everything. So can't totally trust those.
You mean WhatsApp? But
again, antitrust is a pretty powerful force, I would say. So we'll see.
I think you need to do a Weird Al style remake of Can't Touch This, and it's Can't Trust This.
I'll get right on that.
Can't trust this. Thank you.
Very timely. Up next, Weird Al and MC Hammer.
Some hardware. Some new hardware. Lenovo occasionally releases hardware that is not a laptop, and this time it is the Google Assistant powered smart clock. It's called the Smart Clock Essential, and it is a device that shows the time, which is good, as well as your date, some weather, and some temperature information. So it kind of cuts back on what a smart display can show and just focuses on a simple display of those features. But it also has the assistant built into it, and a nightlight, which is nice. A little tiny nightlight, so that you can use it to get up and move around as you need to.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of an iteration on Lenovo's strategy. They're kind of saying the first version of the smart clock that they had was focused on being just a clock, first of all. So it's not a smart display. It's not going to cost $100, I think, is another part of it. It used to cost $80 and now it's down to $50. So it seems like they're like zoning in. And then it's kind of, now that they've added weather and alarms and more Google Assistant stuff, it's kind of about, I think, like the dining room table clock or entryway or something like that, kind of the simple thing where maybe you don't want a camera or Google. I mean, it still uses Google Assistant, but maybe it feels better to be one step removed from the company or something like that if you want it. So maybe these would make sense in hotels.
Yeah.
But I'm all for a product that does what it's supposed to do and not trying to do everything. I think that's a good thing.
Yes. I focus, again, especially with smart home stuff, it seems like focused products are the ideal for sure.
When it's too focused and $150, then you're like, all right, it's like $50 in a good focused product. It's like, yeah, why not? So
perfect balance there. We talked a little bit about the Google Assistant having a daily snapshot. So snapshots were a way to kind of know what you needed to know for a given day. So you could see, I've got this meeting soon. This is what the weather looks like today. Here are some headlines that you need to know and your to-do list items for the day. And the Google Assistant is adding some new ones, including birthday reminders, a very important one, because those of us who don't use Facebook anymore never know when anyone's birthdays are. Is that just me? I don't think that's just me. As well as recipe recommendations. So you can kind of get a little notification saying, hey, today you might want to think about making this meal, which is kind of nice. You can vary your go-to meal by doing something else. And the assistant actually, along with sending you an alert, also lets you call, text, or sing a personalized birthday song. I would like to see that. It says that the features are now available in the Assistant app on iOS and Android. I'm going to need to see how that one works for sure, but I got to see whose birthday's coming up. Maybe you have more. Do you have any more about this one while I'm looking at the Assistant app?
Sure. I mean, this is just, I'm like kind of jealous because it is in many ways, I'm going to copy this for all my shortcuts. And I think I have shortcuts for 3/4 of this at least, but I like the bringing it up at the start of the day kind of thing, because I've definitely been getting more into routine type things. I've been listening to like a daily news podcast in the morning. So I bet something like that would show up here. And they've been doing more YouTube music, Spotify, YouTube video suggestions and things like that. So it's pretty neat stuff. This does seem like the solid morning routine kind of situation. It's like, yeah, I'm definitely going to make a shortcut that does all of these things, because it's like top 5 news stories. You can grab headlines and things like that. So that's fun. I like the birthday reminders are a good one too. And on the screen too, they have do it again based on your habits. So I'm all about making something that you already did even faster. I feel like they've like sneakily started to heat up the Google Assistant snapshot page. They redesigned it a couple months ago and then slowly started to add things in. And now it's like they're releasing the fire hose. And it is interesting seeing Amazon also, like both of these companies are bringing their assistants onto your phone more than they were before, especially iPhones. So that'll be fun.
Okay, tell me about this. This is sounds like a feature that has you excited. That's coming to iPadOS 14.
This is particularly good for, I mean, just Siri users in general, but shortcuts type people. And it's kind of a weird thing that I would have assumed already worked. But now that in iOS 14, Siri's getting a compact interface on the phone, it is like much smaller. And on the iPad, it's just in the corner in a little Siri bubble thing. I don't know what you call that. But now somebody realized in the latest beta that when you're triggering Siri, you can still use your iPad in the background. And I've actually been running a lot of shortcuts for a project that I'll tell you about in a bit. But that came in handy because normally Siri used to entirely take over the screen. Now it just takes over a tiny little part. And if it's running and waiting for something, you can keep browsing on the screen. So it's kind of just a little nice to have feature. Yeah, exactly. But you don't have to wait for Siri to finish all the commands. It's doing the thing for you while you continue on your day. So nice little quality of life thing, but does seem like it'll make a big difference actually, because you don't have to like have Siri be a separate experience. You can use it while you're still doing your other stuff. So pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, let's take a breath and come back with our projects, and that would be the next topic, our projects. All right, Matthew, do you want me to start with my project, or do you want to talk about your site first? You promised us we would finally be getting a look, that you would tell us about the project you've been working on, and now it is time. So do you want to hit that up first, or do you want me to talk about my topic first?
You go first. I want to just keep teasing it, you know?
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. So I got this little Broadlink RM4 mini universal IR remote control a while back. And what it promised to do was send out IR commands like a remote to different devices in my home. I've got a tower fan in my living room. I've got a television that most of the time I don't use IR commands to control, but it is there. And some other things that may use the IR method to, send and receive commands. So essentially what I wanted to do, the reason why I got this was because the tower fan that I have, it is not one that saves its current state, meaning that when it becomes unplugged, it no longer holds on to the setting that you had for it before. Instead, it is just powered off. So I couldn't just plug in a smart plug, plug that into the smart plug, and then use the smart plug to turn the tower fan on and off, because when I took power away from it and then added power back, it would just stay off. It would make a beeping sound letting me know that it was plugged in, but it would stay off, even if I had had it turned on before it shut off. So I was trying to think of a way to automate this tower fan, basically add it to my smart setup, even if I didn't have a smart plug for it. And it has a remote that uses an IR blaster to, send the commands to the tower fan. And there are different commands, power on, power off, and oscillation and speed. And it does different types of fan blowing so that it makes it seem more natural, like the variation in the fan speed and stuff like that, and a timer. And so I bought this Broadlink RM4 dealie, and I was trying to set it up on my setup, my Eero network, and for the life of me, I could not get it to work. I'm using it with the app, and I'm trying to get it set up, and it goes through the process, and it won't complete the process on my iOS device. So I thought, okay, this is one of those kind of weird products that is not necessarily like, it's not super well made, and it is not it's not like the app is kind of bare bones and the integrations are a little crummy. And so what I'm going to do is, iOS has a lot of protections in place and does a lot of things that sort of obfuscate all the controls that you might have over network pairing and the device itself. So I'm going to find the Broadlink app and install it on my Android device. I've got the OnePlus 7 Pro here, I think is what this one is. And so I installed it on the Broadlink, and I launched it and went through the setup process, and it said, instead of just not doing anything, basically getting to this part of the setup process and stopping, which it kept doing over and over again, it said, I can't connect to the network because it's not a 2.4 gigahertz network, and that's what this device requires. But here's the thing. Eero is both a 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi system, but it broadcasts those channels in such a way that the differentiation kind of has to happen on the device side, And so the device has to know I can connect to the network and then say I want the 2.4 gigahertz broadcast versus the 5 gigahertz. Well, when you've got something as, kind of, like I said, shoddily made as this device, you're not going to get that differentiation. So what I needed to do was create a network that was just 2.4 gigahertz. The Eero setup does not allow you to just broadcast one or the other or sort of differentiate between the two, make a 5 gigahertz network and a 2.4 gigahertz network. I never liked that anyway. Anytime I used to get a router, Linksys or something like that, they'd always be like, name your 5 gigahertz network, name your 2.4 gigahertz network. And I'm like, I just want one network. I don't want 9 different SSIDs broadcasting to everybody who lives near me. That's like Mikah 2.4, Mikah 5, Mikah 7. That I hated that. And so that's one of the things that I really like about the Eero setup is that I've got a guest network and my own network. And it's just one network, and most devices can do the stuff that they need to pick or choose. But I needed to be able to access the 2.4 gigahertz network, and there were some other devices that I was going to be adding to my home system that I knew used the 2.4 gigahertz. And so I just wanted to create kind of a single purpose Wi-Fi network that broadcasted the 2.4 gigahertz portion. So what I did was I went into my boxes and dug through until I found the Apple Airport Extreme tower that I had kind of tucked away. Apple, of course, doesn't make Wi-Fi networking devices anymore, but at one point did. And I knew that the tower could broadcast separate 5 and 2.4 gigahertz networks. And believe it or not, it wasn't the IR remote that caused me to want to find the router. It was the fact that I could not get my printer, which is an older printer, and God, I hate printers, but I needed one. And I'd had my printer for a while, just not ever since I moved here, hadn't got it set up, but I needed to get it set up. I needed to be able to print some stuff out. So I needed to get the router out for that. And so I'm like, well, since I'm doing that, I might as well get this IR remote set up too. So I connected the router from Apple to the network switch that is connected to my Eero router. And I put the router, the Apple's router, in bridge mode, meaning that it essentially serves as a Wi-Fi access point on a network that already exists, as opposed to creating a network of its very own. And in doing so, I was able to set it up to send out just 2.4 gigahertz as a connection option, and then just gave it a different SSID so that I could differentiate between the two, which I hate, but alas, I had to set up another one so that I could tell the difference between them when I was connecting. After I did that, got my printer set up just fine. No issue at all. And then I went and started to set up the Broadlink device, and no issue at all. It connected and it worked just fine. And then I proceeded to set up the tower fan remote to work with it. So essentially what you do is you say, I want to add a new device, and you can look up the brand of the product online and use that to try and see if someone has added those codes already to the database. But I, as is my way of needing to be in control and not trusting that somebody else had set it up properly, I just kind of skipped that and did it for myself. So I set up the system. You basically take the remote from the device and you point it at the little IR Broadlink gadget, and you press like power on the app, and then you press the power button on the actual physical remote while you're pointing at it. And then you press power again on the remote. And if it talks to the tower fan, then you know it's working. And you go through and you do that for all of them. So now, although I am all the way upstairs, if I wanted to, I could troll my partner by turning on the tower fan that's downstairs, and he would probably wonder why in the heck the tower fan is turning on, even though no one is around it. So I'm going to do that, and I will have to find out later if he ended up having a bit of a panic attack. What's interesting
what are you controlling
is
it with? Their app or?
Yeah, this is the app.
Okay.
So yeah, the Broadlink app is what it's connected over Wi-Fi to the RM4, and the RM4 sends out the IR command to the tower fan. For some reason, they call oscillation shake instead of oscillation. So there's a shake button to turn on oscillation in the app. But it also works. It will sort of search your network for devices that it can control just kind of by default, as long as they're on the same network. And so it recognized the TCL television that I have and was able to provide a remote for that. So I could also use the app to control that television if I want to. And then there are routines and things within the app too. So you can set it up to have it turn on or off the fan at certain times. So it does all of that as well. So it ended up being something that is quite nice to have this one place where, as long as the IR thing is nearby, I can control it with the little blaster. But it required completely kind of changing up my network in order to support it, which was a bit involved, but worth it to have the printer working and to have the IR remote working. So it's kind of a pro tip as well, that sometimes devices only work on the 2.4 gigahertz frequency because the 5 gigahertz frequency, those bands are a little bit wider and therefore have trouble getting through certain materials. And so when you've got a device that you need to be able to kind of use and send messages to, even whenever you're completely across the space. So, the device that's sending the message is on one floor and the device itself is on another. To be able to send those frequencies through different materials and stuff, it needs to be a shorter, not wider, but thinner band. And so that's why most of them are 2.4 gigahertz, but not 5 gigahertz. So just keep that in mind. If you're having trouble connecting something to your network, that could be why it's happening. And if the device isn't smart enough, it may not be able to notice that your router sends out both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz frequencies. And therefore, it might require a 2.4 gigahertz alone network set up to handle those things. And also make sure that you don't accidentally block the MAC address, because I was having a heck of a time the other day trying to get a smart plug connected to my system. And no matter what I did, no matter what way I tried to connect it, I could not figure out. I even rolled back the firmware on it and everything. Come to figure out, I didn't recognize the device when it first connected to my net, or later after it connected to my network. And then later I was going through and I didn't recognize the device and couldn't find the MAC address on any of the devices that I thought it was. And so I ended up blocking it. And so when I tried to reconnect it, it obviously could not connect to the network, and I couldn't figure out why. And so finally it popped up as a device that was trying to connect but couldn't because it was blocked. And so I was able to unblock it. So also check your block list.
What happened to my LifeX stuff? But yeah, that's a good tip about just the literal how the bands move through spaces, and that's more likely for those types of products that need the longer distance thing. I have a SwitchBot hub that does the IR stuff, but I think at the time that I tried to set it up, it didn't work with the fan that I had. And so I was disappointed because I wanted the same thing, especially, I don't know, but I mean, I guess, dang it, I was going to say you have actual air conditioning. We have to keep fans going. Otherwise, the air just sits in our rooms, and we can point all of the fans towards the one air filter so that we can actually get fresh air. So nice. And I found out I left my office window behind me open all day yesterday, which was not great.
No!
It wasn't that bad of a day, thankfully. It would have been it only ever got up to like 80, I think, here, but it's like we're spending all the day trying to keep the house clean, and then the window's just open. It's like, I think it's in a good space, but yeah. Nice. That's cool though. I might have to get mine set up and try some IR stuff. That's still one of those things that I wonder if that's like one of the first early technologies that hooked my brain, because like infrared just still sounds so fancy.
Yeah, it
and
does.
It's like lasers.
Ooh,
So
what can this do? Yeah, exactly. All right, tell us about what you've been working on.
Oh my God. I've done so much. It's terrible. I mean, it's awesome, but I love it and I hate it. Sorry, I'm clearly have many emotions around this. I don't have the full thing to show you yet because it's still a secret, but tomorrow, September 1st, I will say, Tuesday, September 1st, I'm launching what I'm dubbing the Shortcuts catalog. And so this is I have a similar version on my website right now, the Shortcuts library and the action directory, but I have fully documented all of the actions in Shortcuts. Right now, there's only a preview that people can go check out. But these will basically tell you all 300 of the actions that are in Shortcuts. And then I have 300-ish. I haven't totally nailed down the number that I'm going to share publicly, but like around 300 shortcuts for people to download. And these will each be on individual web pages with curated information about the shortcuts and the actions that the shortcuts uses. And also, sorry, I'm literally like nervous because this is like the big thing that I've been working on. There's going to be a membership portion with extra information and extra shortcuts that you can get and sort through them. And I've added custom categorization and things like that so that you can really learn how to use shortcuts in addition to actually having the shortcuts. So the shortcuts themselves will be free. I will be updating the catalog itself every couple of months, and then members will get iOS 14 shortcuts ahead of that. And also any new shortcuts that I'm creating will be added to like the membership thing before they go out to the public. So it's kind of, I wanted to do a freemium model so that it's not just like we were joking before. It's not just for kids with money only. Like people can still always get most of the shortcuts, or eventually they will become free. So that was a important thing to me because, sorry, I'm like shaken because I've been also up since like 6 a.m. working on this. But
oh my.
But it's basically, the goal is to help people learn how to use shortcuts, because even right now, I'm sure probably most of the people who've used shortcuts have never actually looked through all of the actions. And that was a huge part in my learning process of what can this do? Like, what can I do with this? Is you just don't know. And it's all buried in these folders. And so now there's going to be pages and pages all interlinked. So you'll be able to see just the actions publicly, but then you'll be able to see like, oh, these are the actions that don't prompt you. So they work really well from Apple Watch or things like that with the membership portion. I'm also doing a newsletter called What's New in Shortcuts. This is part of the free experience. So if you're interested in the Shortcuts catalog, you should sign up for this because it will basically just be a way to update you on that, stories that are coming out across the internet about shortcuts and just individual things to learn. I'm going to, it's themed exactly like what's new with, I'll say Amazon Echo, but I'm going to send it out right after Amazon sends theirs every Friday. So every Friday,
perfect.
They send a little thing that's like, here's how you use Madame A or whatever. And then now you'll have right after that shortcuts. So that's always a fun part there. Stick it to Jeff Bezos a little bit. But then, yeah, this is also what I'm most excited about is this is the start. So I have had no like proper mechanism for really sharing my shortcuts for a long time. Now it is fully automated. Like I have shortcuts that will gather this data, scrape the information out of the shortcuts and put it on my website for me and things like that.
Neat.
So I'm really excited to be able to share these, to be able to like folders have completely enabled me in shortcuts from being stuck where I was to now going forward. And so that's going to be the big thing is if you are signing up for the shortcuts thing, there's going to be an annual and then a monthly plan. So if you sign up for it now, you'll basically get the next year of shortcuts. So I'm super excited about this. I'm going to be doing all of my live stream content stuff and sharing shortcuts more for specific categories going forward. So this is very fun. There's going to be future, I don't know what to call them now, but modules I will add to the shortcuts library or the shortcuts catalog. In the future, I'm going to add apps, automations, and then my workflow to tie all this stuff together. So it's big stuff. I've learned a lot, and I now know how to make websites in a way that I had no idea before. So smashing my head against the wall a lot on that, but I'm super excited. I would love for all of you who are listening to go to MatthewCassinelli.com/membership on September 1st and sign up. And I would really appreciate that. So thank you.
I can't wait. I'm pumped. So where folks just go to your website tomorrow?
Yeah.
Are you giving a time? Did you say a time?
I'm not going to say a time.
Okay. All right, so we'll just stay posted tomorrow.
Slightly, so that's okay. But yeah, you'll see it if you go on the interwebs or my website. And I'll make a special link that it won't be up if you're watching this live, but a way for people who listen to the show to. I'll do MatthewCassinelli.com/smarttechtoday, all one word. And that will be like a special landing page for everybody. So yeah,
all right.
I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, you got me all pumped. So this will
get ready to smash the retweet button. I'm totally going to ask people to share it because this is absolutely a huge thing for me, and I would really love your support because it would make a huge difference.
And yeah, I know that, this is, the way that you've described it, it sounds like it has been quite the undertaking for sure. So
I was talking to someone on the Shortcuts team, and I was like, can you confirm that this is the date that this action was released in workflow? And he was like, you're mad. And I was like, that's one, like, I think I did the math, and it's something like 22,000 cells of data and things like that. So it's a lot of information. So it'll have all the parameters for how the actions work. I don't have full screenshots yet, but it will say, like, part of what's confusing in shortcuts is that the name of the action changes once you add it. So it becomes the sentence of how the action works. And so you should be able to, if you are kind of wondering how an action works, Google it and find it on my website and be able to learn more about it. So I'm excited. And if you're listening to this, please, again, give me feedback. I would love it. Share your ideas. Tell me what kind of shortcuts you want to build, because it's kind of like full steam ahead now. So thank you. I appreciate your support.
Awesome. All right, let's take a breath before we come back with our picks of the week. All right. My pick of the week is I saw that pretty soon my favorite package tracking app is going to be switching to a subscription model. So this is the app called Deliveries, made by June Cloud, and it is hands down the most wonderful, most steadfast, most trustworthy, most awesome package tracking application that you can buy, that money can buy. It's available right now for $4.99 in both the iOS and macOS app stores, and it lets you track your items. If you, like me, get stuff on Amazon rather frequently or from across the web rather frequently, then you are going to dig this app. It gives you push notifications for the current state of a delivery. It works super well with Amazon so that you can kind of you just plug in the order ID and your email, and then it will give you, it sort of locks into Amazon's API and gives information for where the package currently is, where it's headed, how long it's going to take until it arrives. And it lets you keep an archive of all of the items that you have ordered so that you can kind of check and make sure that, you got everything that you thought you were going to get and that it was going to be available. There's Deliveries 9 is coming soon, and it's going to have some nice features for importing items, dark mode support, full tracking history, so that way you can see not just the current status of your item, but sort of everything that you need to know about the item, where it's come from, where did it come from, where did it go, and better syncing. So it is not available yet. That's deliveries 9, but it is going to be available soon. And subscriptions will be what will eventually be available. But even if you buy it now, a lot of the features that I have loved with deliveries will still be available to you with that $4.99 subscription, or with that $4.99, straight flat fee. But it's so I honestly can't wait to give June Cloud a subscription thing to keep this app going, because it is so great. It's on my iPad, it's on my iPhone, it's on my Apple Watch, it's on my Mac. And as I order products, or as products are ordered for me, as is the way with subscribe and save on Amazon, I pop those things into deliveries and I can keep track of them and know right where they are and, how many days it's going to take. I've got one in here that won't ship for 42 days, but I know the moment that date, should change, or that gets moved up or something like that it's there. I can see when packages are delayed. I can see when they're available for pickup at the post office, all sorts of things. And
it'll
that's
notify
FedEx,
you, right?
UPS. Yeah.
Yeah, because I use deliveries
FedEx,
also.
It's great. It's great. So yeah, if you're looking for a way to track your products that you're purchasing, it works with FedEx, UPS, Amazon, Apple, the U.S. Postal Service, some more obscure ones like On Track, which is how my Green Chef box is delivered with that service, and many more. So yeah, that's deliveries in the App Store. And it's so much easier than having to go to different sites online to track your deliveries. Just keep them all in one place. Super handy. Do you know, with the subscription, are they going to do like automatic email type thing? Because if not, I have an alternate. I don't know yet. It's going to be updated soon with all of the stuff. That's just kind of been a hint at what's coming soon. I just want to give that kind of what am I trying to say? Deliveries and June Cloud has been awesome, and they're kind of getting some blowback for switching to the subscription model, and they don't deserve it, because they've made this app and have served so many people so well for so long. And I know you and I understand
it's been like $5
so
for
silly.
like 10 years. Yeah.
For 10 years, exactly. So go buy this app. It's great. You should definitely get it.
Definitely. I highly recommend it as well. That's the one I've been using for years and years. And they have the reason I was mentioning that is, well, first of all, they have shortcuts. And then there's now the email automation shortcut. So if you get an email with the word delivery in it, it can notify you to run your shortcut to add that delivery.
That's cool.
I got deliveries, but yeah, I also recommend it.
You probably also do some regex and set it up so it can look for like 1ZX, I think is the typical first bit of a UPS tracking number. So it could find the 1ZX in your.
If it contains.
Let's talk about what you've got for us. What's your pick of the week?
Yeah, this one is interesting. I saw this recommended from somebody, or I don't know if he recommended it per se on Twitter, but it was a kind of a funny interaction. He said that he had this smart clock that he was using with his kid, and they basically told the kid, when the light goes off, it's time to get up in the morning. And what they didn't tell the kid is that on the weekend, they don't turn the light off. So they like the kid, he was like, my kid just lays in bed for hours waiting for the light to turn on, or I don't remember which way they have it, but so he's like, my child will just obey the light, and it's fantastic because we don't have to worry about him getting up early. But it's called the Restore from Hatch, and I had never even heard of this company. It does look a little pricey. It's $130, but it's a smart light and sleep sound type thing, so it can give you personalized routines to fall asleep, have the mood with the sound effects and soft lighting, so you're not straining your eyes with blue light, and can kind of wake you up gently and things like that, and be customized with color. So I thought it was interesting. I just hadn't heard of this product, and I can't totally tell from the photos what shape it is, because it looks almost flat, but it's kind of deceiving. It's like one of those things where they only show you the product from the front over and over again, so much so that I'm like, does it have a rounded back? I can't even tell. But it's kind of like a half orb with a mesh thing on the bottom and a little alarm clock. So I thought it's interesting. I definitely don't have an alarm clock or use anything like that, but something that can kind of serve three of those purposes at once. Like, I'm pretty sure we paid $100 for our sound machine. So I use something like that every night. So this sounds like an interesting mix and kind of a new company to keep an eye on. Hatch.co is their website.
Hatch.co. Yeah, that's something I'm definitely going to have to be looking into. I like it. Folks, that is going to do it for us this week. If you have questions, thoughts, projects, etc., that you want to send to us, go ahead and email those. It's stt@twit.tv. We record the show live every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 p.m. Pacific, which is 2300 UTC. So if you want to tune in live, well, actually, I was going to say that today is the last time that you will see us recording live at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and 2300 UTC. We will be starting the show in the future at 11 a.m. Pacific on Mondays. Next week, Monday, is Labor Day, so TWiT is not hosting any shows on the coming Monday, but Smart Tech Today will be back on the 14th, September 14th, at the new time. So to tune in live, you can head to twit.tv/live on Monday, September 14th at 11 a.m. Pacific. And that is when you'll be able to catch us at that new time earlier in the day. And we're all saying hip hip hooray here for sure. If you'd like to subscribe to the show so that you don't have to worry about the time, whether it's 11 or 4 or 2097, then the clearest way, easiest way to do that is by heading to twit.tv/STT and clicking to subscribe to the show in whatever format you want, video, audio, and on whatever platform provider, be it YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, wherever you want to go to get your podcast goodness, we've got you covered. Matthew, if folks want to be ready when you launch this awesome new Shortcuts catalog, where do they go to do that?
At MatthewCassinelli.com. And just to be clear for all the listeners, that's MatthewCassinelli. And there's nothing quite yet as we're live, but there will be lots of fun stuff to play with tomorrow and going into the future.
Awesome. If you want to follow me online, you can follow me on pretty much all the social media sites at Mikah Sargent, or head to chihuahua.coffee, CHIHUAHUA.coffee, which has links to the different places I exist online. All righty, folks, it is time to say goodnight to your smart assistants. Good night, vacuum cleaner.
Good night, smart lights.
Nice. Smart shades. Wow.
Be sure to check out the other shows on the network, like my other show, Hands On Wellness. I love to share different tips and tricks that's going to help you get a better grasp on your personal wellness. Just go to twit.tv/how and subscribe now.